big book studies of Joy and Charlie became very prominent, and they came to Europe, so of course, and then they were online, and the tapes were there, and I learned, of course, I learned a lot from Joy and Charlie. Now there's a lot of big book studies out there. They're excellent. Whatever you know, it's always, whatever you're doing, it's always worth working on yourself. There's nothing that's more beneficial to us alcoholics sober than to work on ourselves. It's always going to pay off, and maybe not now. Maybe now it's difficult, but it's always going to pay off at some stage if you don't give up, which means if you don't drink and throw the baby out with the bath. So for those who are new, I just want to briefly show you the table of content of the big book, and there's a bunch of pre-fast forward first edition. Mine is a third edition actually, but now the one that's out is the fourth edition. And the forwards are very interesting to read, and we do study them in a formal big book study because there's a lot of information about AA and there's a lot of information about the traditions. The main sentence that I want to point out to you in the forwards is the one, of course, of the first tradition on page Roman numbers 13. So if you don't have a big book, you just listen to me, and if you do, then you open up, and it says, "We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book." So there you go. If you're not reading the book, you're not doing AA. The book, before the book was written in 1939 by Bill and a bunch of others around him, mainly Bill, and then others corrected it. AA had no name. They called themselves a bunch of drunks. And then they wrote the book, and they were going to call it A Way Out, and a few other names, but they checked in the American library, and there were already 4 books with the name A Way Out. Imagine if we were called A Way Out. And then one of the guys came over, Alcoholics who are Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous, that's a good name. And then named the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's our name. So the book is who we are. You're not reading the book, you're not doing AA. I'm sorry. Because again and again it says here, we've discovered, especially in the chapter, there's a solution. It says, we have a common solution on which we can absolutely agree. And it's not the solution that you come up with because you do yoga and you meditate, whatever your meditation is in the morning, and you do some affirmation. The solution on which we absolutely agree is just this one. So don't, you can do whatever else you want. It's really good to go shopping. Whatever helps, use it. Whatever's out there, just get it. Be hungry, explore, because the book says that too, that they're in the family afterwards. It's like, just go get the psychologist, the therapist, just go. The beautiful thing is when we're sober, we don't, we are in the luxury to get the best out there. I live in Berlin, I know they're the best drinks, the best therapists, the best in any of kind. Because I'm sober and I'm not desperate anymore, I can shop around and get the best. So get the best, you deserve it. And a friend of mine said always, we get the doctors and the psychiatrists, but especially the doctors that we deserve. When I was drinking, I got exactly the right doctor to prescribe me the pill that I needed. I'm a smart kid, so I know which doctor was going to give me my diet pills because they were on prescription, and my Valium, because I had a nervous disposition. And where was I? Alcoholics Anonymous, the solution, the common solution. So precisely how we have recovered. Apparently it's precisely written how we have recovered is in the book. And there's always a little dispute between recovered alcoholics and recovering alcoholics. So you can see so some people say, I'm Julian, I'm a recovered alcoholic. And then others say, oh, I'm Julian, I'm a recovering alcoholic. So this fight of who is right, well, nobody's right, because when they say I'm a recovered alcoholic, they refer to this sentence. I'm recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And this is what this is what I had, a hopeless state of mind and body. And I don't have that state here with you today, and neither has any of you. You all recovered. because none of you is like the lady shirt in the gutter and there but for the grace of God go I. We all have recovered in that sense. Now, and then you go to chapter 6 in on the 10th step into action, and it says, it is on page 85, it is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcoholic is settled for. We're not cured. There was also, they said, oh, we're not cured of, okay, we're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So those who say I'm a recovering alcoholic, actually they refer to this sentence. They say I'm recovering because what I really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So when these guys fight in the meetings, or when they say I'm right, they say, oh, don't worry, you're both right, because you refer to two different things. See, you learned something. And back to the foreword. So here we go. So read the forewords when you study the book, and listen to Joan Child. You good? This is the foreword to the first edition. Yeah, this is the very first one when they said we're more than 100 men and women. You all know that there was maybe one woman and about 20 or 30 or maybe at maximum 40 men after 4 years. But Bill said, and I think Noel Scher mentioned that Bill was a verkäufer, a seller, so he was like, 40 men and one woman, that doesn't. Not so strong for a book, so let's just round it up to 100. So 100 is a good number to say, because one person can say I've recovered and discovered a solution, you're going to say yeah, fuck you. But 100 is harder to say fuck you. 100 is quite a number, so you know, okay, 100 is, yeah, maybe I'll try this too. With 100, 101, maybe it will work for me too. Yeah, unfortunately I cannot go into the book, but I want to stay on the forward. Then you come and have the doctor's opinion. The doctor's opinion is really important. It was written by Dr. Silkworth. And Dr. Silkworth was the doctor who assisted Bill when he had his spiritual awakening in Towns Hospital. When Bill flew out of the room like on a mountain breeze and he was sort of floating. And he had the belladonna treatment, so some bad-mouthing Tom said that he was just high. We don't know what happened, but he had this spiritual experience, and during the spiritual experience, he envisioned the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is what is really, really important for us, because he envisioned the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of alcoholics who he could maybe help, and if they had the same experience. And so Silkworth, and then Bill, as it's known, went to Silkworth after his spiritual experience and said, oh, this happened to me, this is insane, am I now going crazy? And Silkworth was very wise, said, whatever it is that you have experienced, it's better than what you had before, so hang on to it. So that was good. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous is a series of little miracles happen. You know, there are books that read about big plane crashes and stuff, and what happens when a plane crashes, it's not one big mistake, it's a series of small mistakes that add up and then make the plane crash. And AA is a bit the contrary, it's a series of small coincidences and people saying the right words at the right time that make us become who we are and be able to sit here. So the doctor's opinion, I want to just point out the essentials for me. First of all, in the first edition, there's been a reprint in 2015. There was a reprint of the original big book with a beautiful cover. Was red and yellow and these beautiful letters. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. The first edition was really pretty, but then it was also very flashy and not very anonymous, and that's why they gave us this, which is much more anonymous. But check out the first issue, which was so extremely pretty. And you know, the reason why it's called a big book is that Bill and the other guys wanted to, they needed to sell the book and they needed to make it worth their value, so they picked the thickest pages to make a big book, so that alcoholics who would buy the book would have the feeling that they're actually getting something for their money. So that's why it's called a big book. And so Dr. Silkworth, Bill said, can you write an endorsement for us? And Dr. Silkworth said yes, of course. But if you look at the first edition, William, here, he signed in his letter, yours, very truly yours, William D. Silkworth, on page Roman numbers 24. In the first edition, he didn't sign. He just said there's an X, and because there was no way that he was going to ruin his reputation as a very fine doctor in treatment of alcoholism and giving his name to a bunch of drawings that he wasn't quite sure what was going to happen with this movement. And then it's only in the second edition that his name appears and is signed. So yeah, so it was a big dare also for him to endorse Alcoholics Anonymous. And I love the text, especially the second one of Dr. Silkworth. Am I talking too fast? Are you guys good? It's good? Yeah? Because she says slow it down, but she's also breathe. Oh yeah, no, I can't breathe because we only have till 12 o'clock, so I'm gonna breathe after 12. But no, but yeah, breathe. Whew. No, yeah?
Just a bit, okay?
Whatever.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay. So on page Roman numbers 25, there's the best definition of, you work with a sponsee and they don't believe in God. The best definition for the higher power is on bottom of page Roman numbers 25. Isn't it nice that in AA you also relearn to read Roman numbers? It's a side benefit of studying the book Roman numbers. And on the bottom of page 25 it says, oh yeah, what I want to say is the reason why we do big book studies is that you can pass it on. This is not for you to feel better. This is not for you so you can have a kick and say how great Alcoholics Anonymous is. This is so you make notes and then you can pass it on. Because it's about reaching the next alcoholic. And so they don't believe in God and so they have problems with God. And this is the best definition that Dr. Silkworth says. He talks about us and he says, they believe in themselves, which is sort of okay, but still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. So you tell your sponsees that you don't believe in God, it's fine, who cares? First, you can just pray without believing in God. You can say, to whom it may concern is my prayer. But really, you just sit in a meeting for a few weeks and you go to a meeting and you look at the newcomers and you look how you look that after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks or a couple of months, all of a sudden, how they transform. Things happen that no doctor, no therapy, no hospital can make happen. You just sit there and you say, I know I met this guy, but somehow I don't recognize him because the skin is fresh and the eyes are sort of sparkly and his whole way of moving is different, his way or her way of talking is all fresh and new. And that this is the power that does this. This is the higher power that all you need for us alcoholics. So you just need this. This is so you go to AA, you tell your sponsor, you go to AA, watch, and this is the power that can do this because I can't do it. Even though if I try, I might try, but I've tried. All of us who've had sponsees at the beginning of our sobriety, you know that we can be very forceful and controlling, and then we just let go and let God do the thing. So anyway, the power, remember that the power which pulls chronic alcoholics from the gates of death, that's our higher power, that's God. Then there's this very famous passage of the doctor who says, frothy emotional advice suffices on page Roman numbers 26. So it's not enough to say, oh, yeah, just come and do a little prayer, and maybe you do a little yoga, and maybe you change your diet. It's just not enough. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffice. The message which can interest and hold these alcoholics must have depth and weight. Meaning that, you know, they say there's only one thing that you need to change when you come to Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's everything. That's, you know, because I'm an alcoholic, I have the mind of an alcoholic when I come here, I have the demeanor of an alcoholic, and the only thing that's going to say we change everything. And with you, sober alcoholics who have changed everything, it becomes very easy to change everything. Because also I'm in an environment where everybody is with me. So the message which must interest these alcoholics must have depth and weight. This is why it talks again and again and again in the big book. It's sickening how much it talks about, says your thoughts of God must be with you constantly. all day long, all through the day, thy will be done, not mine. You have to examine look for anger, resentment, dishonesty, and selfishness. Turn around, turn to higher power. Talk to someone, and then ask God for forgiveness. That's the message, the whole book. And it's intense. That I become a religious freak then, or spiritual freak. Yeah, that's what you have to become. You really have to become a spiritual freak. But it's not so hard because you're surrounded by spiritual freaks. And look around, they don't look so bad. They're really actually quite nice people, and they're not so, whatever we think. I have a nice story because I went to Israel last year with my husband, and we went to this place of where the Kreuzritter, exactly Kreuzritter, the guys who went for the Crusades went and to go on the Holy Land. And there was a big cast, a very old, of monks of the order, I didn't remember the name of the order, but it was an order of monks who welcomed the tired crusaders and who just took care of them, the ones who were sick, the ones who were hungry. So it was this huge place, medieval place, where there were the doctor monks on this side and the warrior monks there, and then there was a big mess hall, and there was a very strict disciplinary structure. And so I was reading, and it said that the monks had to eat in silence and listen to the songs of the other monks, and if one spoke or broke the rules, the punishment was the septen. And I was like, well, and I was curious because I like medieval torture methods, and I'm really curious. I said, what did they do to the monks? Put them in a space and then torture them, break their fingers or whatever they did. But no, then I looked it up, and the septen is from the number 7. And the septen was a punishment was that for 7 days you had to be extra committed to God. 7 days cure. And we have that today. Emmett Fox talked about that. So I tell my sponsees when they're feeling really bad, or maybe for me even when I'm not in a good space, I say, okay, 7 days of really getting into God and conscious contact with God, of a lot of prayer and a lot of surrendering and a lot of opening up to God and asking God to come into my life, more meetings and so forth. So remember the septen when you're feeling like you want to jump out of the window. And then there's the bottom of the page, Roman numbers 26, which is very famous too. In AA it says these alcoholics, it's why do we drink? Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. It's not because we like the taste. Who cares about the taste? You like it, you're lucky. You don't like it, who cares? I hate whiskey, but when whiskey is there, I drink whiskey. I prefer vodka and gin, very sweet, because I'm a Roman, so I like sweet wine or whatever, but who cares? Whiskey is good, whatever is there I drink, but not, so I like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that after a while they admit that it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, the alcoholic life seems the only normal one. When I was drinking, I was convinced that life is the way it is, with me drinking as much as I was drinking. That was life. And it was a struggle, and it was painful, and it was desperate, but I didn't think that life could be any different, because that's the best survival kit that I had at hand was drinking and taking pills, because the drinking, I couldn't drink during the day because alcoholics drink during the day. So during the day I took speed and speed. Because also speed is interesting because speed makes you work hard and makes you think fast. And and then you drink, and it's good. No, but speed is good because then when you can drink at 5, which I was allowed to drink at 5 because everybody drinks at 5, then you're normal if you drink at 5. When you drink at 5, then you also, if you haven't eaten much, then the first beer, which was always the first beer for me, because Germans say beer is like liquid bread. It has all the vitamins you need. So you don't need to eat, and it has all the vitamins. So my first beer it tastes really good. And also when you're hungry, of course, then it's even better. So I like the effect, and my life seems normal. Everybody seems like, this is how you do life on life's terms. And it says here, the very famous sentence there, restless, irritable, and discontent. Restless, irritable, and discontent, which is what we have even when we're sober. Often we get restless, irritable, and discontent. It seems like people outside don't get that restless, irritable, and discontent. But it seems like us alcoholics, even if we're in the best of places and surrounded by the best of people, we can wake up in the morning in a nice holiday place, sun is shining. There's also research. I went to the 2015 Atlanta convention, and there was I love getting the tapes of all the meetings, because I don't want to miss anything. So all the meetings that take place, there were 500 meetings, and I listened to them, and I love to listen to those, the religion and alcoholism, treatment centers and alcoholism, and also research on alcoholism. And there's been some research made recently from Harvard or I don't know, MIT, and they say that, I really like that for normal people, for example, they're on the terrace, it's summer, and they have a morning coffee. Normal people are more happy with their morning coffee on a sunny terrace than alcoholics. We cannot be as happy as normal people with the nice things of life. Somehow we are edgy or weird. And I have that when I go, for example, my husband is a normie. He doesn't drink, and he drinks, but the way he drinks is so fucking boring. It's like, it's like, excuse me. I was telling a friend the other day, he was sitting with a friend of his at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, drinking a bottle of very good sake wine. And they were talking about the sake half an hour before they tried the sake. And I was like, man, I'm getting exhausted about you just talking about the sake, why not good, and the different sakes that exist, and how many. And I'm like, why guys, aren't you going to drink your thing or what? And then they drink a little bit, and then they're just like one sip, oh yeah, this is very good. And they talk another 15 minutes, and I say, this is impossible. Who wants to drink like this? Anyway, so we go on holidays, and we used to go on holidays somewhere nice in Spain or in Sardinia, whatever, something where sunny. So my husband likes a nice place, a simple place to stay, swimming pool, good food, and some good sex, and some good books. And I go with him because I'm nice, and we're freshly married, and I'm jumping out of my skin. So I just like, oh, this is so fucking boring. But it's nice. I try to be grateful, and we fight, and we have fights the whole night through, talk about the relationship, and then I found the solution. I said, let's go to America, where it's sunny, nice place to stay, swimming pool, good food, and good sex if we wanted, if we could make it happen, and meetings. And now we go to America for a holiday, and I go to meetings when he's sleeping and he's having his rest. At 6 o'clock, I'm in a meeting with my friends. I connect, and I feel useful and whole. And in the evening, when he rests or whatever he does, I go to meeting at 10 or whenever I want. I just go to meeting, and we've got the most wonderful holidays now, and so it's good to know yourself. Anyway, so they get restless, irritable, discontent until they can experience at once, put my glasses back on, experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. And so the important word is at once. This is why alcohol is so great, because it's at once. It's not, take this pill and in an hour you're going to feel better. No. At once. We need at once. I'm jumping out of my skin. I'm desperate. I'm going nuts. So I need at once. And we drink at once. It's happening. This is why I love alcohol at once, or some other stuff that you guys took. Valium took a little longer, but anyway, at once, and it connects to something I want to read to you, and we read this on page 84 on the 10th step. So you go on page 84, and it says, this thought brings us to step 10, middle paragraph, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. So as we go along is already a time proposition. As we go along. It's like almost at once. Yeah, it's like as we go along. Then, but it will intensify. Listen. We vigorously commence this way of living as we clean up the past. It is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've entered the world of the Spirit. We're in. Don't worry. We're in. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. So this is my function. This is the function of every one of you. Write it on your fridge. Put it on your fridge. Write it and say, my function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Write it down so you remember. When you're depressed, a little down, you go like, oh, my function is to grow in effectiveness. And okay. Remember. Thank you, God. And then, this is not an overnight matter. And it says, it should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I'll come back to those 4 words later on. Resentment, selfishness, dishonesty, and fear. When these crop up, it doesn't say that if these crop up. It says when, so it means that they are going to crop up. It's going to happen. You're not going to be cured of that. So when they crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. So this is where it connects to alcoholism, because we need quick fixes. This is why the quickest fix that we've come up with in Alcoholics Anonymous is God. Because God is quick. It's the quickest. God is quicker than alcohol. Trust that. We'll come to that later too. So remember. So at once to remove them. We discuss with someone immediately, not tomorrow, not in 3 days when it's still bothering me, not tomorrow morning when everybody's up, at once and immediately, because alcohol acts at once. Yeah. So tell this to your sponsee. Call me at once or immediately, not tomorrow when you feel like something's bothering you. Make amends quickly. Again, the sense of time and urgency. Quickly, not okay next week because now I don't have time. No. Quickly, yeah. And if we have harmed anyone, we then resolutely turn our thoughts to someone who we can help. Love and tolerance is our code. So see how this is connected. So this was the doctor's opinion. We're still at the, yeah, I think that's all from the doctor's opinion for now. The doctor's opinion is full of these gems. I like the gems in the big book. Then we go on, and we have the doctor's opinion, and we have 11 chapters. And you notice that how it works, wie es funktioniert in German, how it works comes at chapter 5. So why do we need to read 4 stupid chapters before we can get to work? It doesn't make sense. And why? We read how it works, and like somebody pointed out yesterday, it says now we are at step 3. Where's step 1 and 2? What happened? So it's a little confusing. So I tell you how this works. First we have Bill's story. First Bill said, I'm going to put my story, Dr. Bob, at the end. That was the first intention. You know, after the theory, we're going to put the stories. And then they realized, no. The most precious tool that we alcoholics have in Alcoholics Anonymous is our stories. Because this is what touches the newcomer. This is why I come, this is why we tell stories at the speaker meeting. We tell stories because stories is what heals us. Identification. So Bill's story is about identification. When you go on a 12-step call and you read the chapter Working with Others, which is one whole chapter on the first half of step 12, it always says the same thing. Tell them your story, listen to their story. My first sponsor used to say, alcoholism is an oral disease. The disease comes in through the mouth through drinking, it comes out through the mouth through talking. So listen to your new sponsor. Ask them. I'm so moved. Sometimes I've been traveling all over the world, obviously, and I always go to AA because I told you I'm a little AA slut in a good way, not in a bad way. In a fine way. And when these women pick me up, these old timers that I meet in whatever, be it Perth in Australia or in Albany, New York, I've got these women that are incredible, these old timers that pick me up and we drive somewhere, maybe to a convention or to a meeting, and it's always the same. They say, okay, so tell me your story. And then I'll tell you mine. And it's so good. It's really good. So remember that. You figure somebody new, you don't know what to do with them, your sponsee, tell me your story. And sometimes if, when I get a new sponsee, because I get quite a few now, I'd ask them to write me their story. write me your story so I get to know you, and then we share to have an idea. It's also a very good thing writing a story. I had a sponsee. She repeatedly said, "I'm not sure I'm an alcoholic. You know, maybe I'm not an alcoholic. Maybe." I said, "Yeah, write down your drinking story." And a good trick is to have it sent to, the grapevine or the local AA journal. We have a local AA journal in Germany. It's called AA. And if they take it, it means you're an alcoholic. If they say, "No, this is not a good story, it's not an alcoholic story," then it means that you're not an alcoholic. So she writes the story, and she sends it in with good faith. I said, "Yeah, I'm very trust, because a good trust." And she gets this call back and said, "Oh, what an amazing first step story. This is really, really good, and you're such a good writer." And she's like so happy because she gets all these compliments. "Can we publish it?" "Yes, of course." And then they said, "So, are you convinced now that you're an alcoholic?" And she goes like, "Ah, yeah." Her ego was all blown up. I said, "Yeah, so you have it on paper now. You're an alcoholic. So no doubts anymore. You're in the club." So this is a good tool. Tell your story. Then that's why Bill tells his story. And that's why you tell your story when you have someone. And you don't know what to do, you don't know what to speak with another alcoholic, just tell your story and then ask them to tell their story. You'll get connected. And Bill's, the way Bill's wonderful, magnificent way that Bill's story ends is page 16. Most of us feel we need no further look for utopia. We have it with us right here and now. Each day, my friend's simple talk in our kitchen multiplies itself in a widening circle of peace on earth and goodwill to man. So this is what happens every time you share your story with an alcoholic. This is the feeling. It's like, "Oh, this is what I've always wanted." Promise. Also, I don't know. Is anybody in Al-Anon here? Same thing. They want you to share the pain of alcoholism with someone else. It always happens. Then you said, "Okay, I don't need anything else. I don't need another car. I don't need another man. I don't need another job. I just want to be here. There's nowhere else I want to be. This is the best place for me." And then you're good. You're good to go, because this is what the big mysticists and the big meditators, that's what they want. They want to be in the now. And what brings us in the now is the stories. And this is why we love meetings, because we come to meetings and we listen. You can come to meetings with all the problems in the world, and they pile up, and you say, "Oh, the meeting's never going to fix it, but I'm still going to go to meetings because I do service and I have to do it." And also, you're only there 5 minutes, and all your problems have disappeared. I mean, this is how sometimes I feel. It's like, what problems did I have again? And then you go out for coffee, and you're like, "Oh, I'm a real sissy. That's nothing. I'm just like, I don't feel that problem anymore." So this is us alcoholics. We get into the now, our heart relaxes, and we get to be. And we all long to be, rather than being in our head and being worrying about tomorrow and remorseful about yesterday. And so rest is everybody's good. So that's why we have Bill's story for identification. Then there's a solution, is to give hope. Well, first you tell your story, and then you give hope, because we have a common solution. And it's the 100 men against one, or 100 women against one. If you come to the group, you see that there was 100 or maybe 50 or 10 people who have a solution, or hopeless alcoholics, and who were actually not drinking. I couldn't believe it, because when I first got sober and I saw these people, and I know they weren't lying. There's something about them telling their stories where I knew nobody has to make up these stories. They're too stupid and too whatever. It's just like too weird to make up. You can't make up these stories. And then I said, wow, and this is really, when my sponsor took me on and she said, "Yeah, I'll sponsor you," I thought she was really a fool, because I thought that I was different, and that I was too stupid, too dumb, too idiotic, not alcoholic enough to actually ever get what she had, ever. But since the door had closed on my back, and I couldn't go back, and I didn't want to die yet, I was like, I can only jump forward and say, she's a little dumb to take me on, and I'm just going to try and act as if, and pretend this is really happening, and maybe I can have a little bit of what she she has, and also maybe I can just be safe with her. Maybe not even have what she has, but just be safe, because I just needed to be safe. And what the gift she gave me is that she believed in the God that pulls a chronic alcoholics from the days of insanity and death. She knew that the age of miracles is still with us. So she took me on, even though she didn't have to believe in me. I don't have to believe in you. I have to have a connection with my higher power, but I don't have to believe in you when I work with you. I just have to do my work, to be the channel and pass on. Because, as it says in the family afterwards, I just want to share this, because unless I forget, in the family afterwards, if I find it, father or mother or child or daughter or son feels she has struck something better than gold. For a time, she may try to hug the new treasure to herself. She may not see at once that she has barely scratched a limitless load, which will pay dividends only if she minds it for the rest of her life and insists on giving away the entire product. That's on page 129. So yeah, so we give it, we pass it on, and we pass on our solution. There's a solution is also the story in the book of Dr. Jung. So read where Roland H., the guy who was a rich heir of from Vermont and a childhood friend of Bill's. And they say he was a businessman, but I read up, and he was just a troublesome son from a rich family, so-called businessman, you know. But he had all the cash, so he went to be treated by Dr. Jung in Zurich for 1 year, and Dr. Jung treated him for 1 year, and seemed to have good results. And then Roland left again to go back to Vermont, and he stopped in Paris because he said, "I'm sober, let's see Paris, because I might as well, when I'm in Europe, go and see Paris." And he sat on the terrace of a cafe, and in a heartbeat, he was drinking his wine. He was drunk. So he went back to Zurich to Siggy Jung and said, "What's up with me, man? I was so hopeful." And Dr. Jung said, "Yeah, we've been trying." So that's and there's a solution. I've been trying to make a. Let me just read it. I don't have to invent it. It's on. Oh no, that's more about alcoholism, isn't it? There's a solution. I have to rectify. I think called the Young Stories, and there's more about alcoholism, right? You guys have it? Where's Carl Jung? No, that's Fred. Where's Carl Jung? It is in. Let me just find it. 26. Yeah, there it is. It is in There Is a Solution. The doctor said you have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. I have never seen one single case recover where that state of mind exists to the extent that it does in you. And then Roland said, "Oh my God, oh shit, the gates of hell have closed on him with a clang," page 27. And then he said, "Is there no exception?" The doctor says, the wise Dr. Jung admitted his powerlessness and says, he doesn't say, "No, it can't happen. If I can't make it happen, it can't happen." So he, in a moment of grace, and because he was a great doctor, he said, "I don't know, but I've seen here and there, once in a while, alcoholics have had what are called vital spiritual experiences. To me, these occurrences are phenomena. They appear to be in the nature of huge emotional displacement and rearrangements, ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which are one of the guiding forces of the lives of these men are suddenly cast to one side, and a completely new set of conceptions and motives begin to dominate them." This is what happens, AA. A completely new set of conception and motives begin to dominate me, because I'm so enthused with you, with the steps, with the love that you give me, that I look at the newcomers when they have it. I mean, they can be tiring with their enthusiasm, but it's great. It's like, oh God, they're exhausting. But I'm exhausting too with my enthusiasm too. So anyway, huge, dominate them. In fact, I've been trying to produce some of these emotional rearrangements within you. With many individual methods which I've employed as success, but I've never been successful with an alcoholic of your description. Never. Carl Jung says never. He admits powerlessness. Thank God for us that he admits powerlessness. And so So Roland said, oh, maybe I can go to church. And he said, no, it's not about church. I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about a spiritual experience. So again, this is our root is. You know, when we say power greater than yourself, as you understand him, this is where it comes from. Because Pauline said, no. Religion, yes, good if you go to church, but it's not enough. A vital spiritual experience is what you need. And so this is how then Roland H. went to join the Oxford groups at the time, which called themselves a spiritual movement with the precepts of early Christianity. And this is how we proceeded to get sober with the Oxford group principles, which our big book, by the way, is infused with. And when on step 10, which I shared with you on page, what did I say, 90, so I'm working with others, but sorry, when I read immediately, we continue to look for resentment, fear, selfishness, and dishonesty. These are directly from the Oxford group. The Oxford group lived by the 4 absolutes. All our motives had to be checked by the 4 absolutes of absolute love, absolute purity, absolute honesty, and absolute selflessness. And these are the ones that are engraved on Dr. Bob's grave. And the 4 absolute, the contrary of love is resentment. The contrary of purity in that sense, because I told you it's not about not having sex, purity, it's about being in fear. So the contrary of purity is fear, contrary of honesty, of course, is dishonesty, and contrary of selflessness is selfishness. And those 4 things, resentment, fear, dishonesty, and selfishness, are the main characteristics of our disease. If we are anything, we're absolutely resentful, we're absolutely dishonest, we're absolutely selfish, and we're absolutely fearful. And this is why in the 4th step, this is what we examine continuously also when we do the 10th step. And the Oxford group people used to ask the question when you were inspired and you had an intuitive thought or decision in the morning, you were supposed to check with your sponsor and ask, is it loving, is it pure, meaning is it trustful, is it unselfish, and is it honest? And if it was loving and pure, trusting, if it was honest and it was selfless, then you could go ahead and do whatever you wanted. And we still live by that. So this is a little parenthesis on the Oxford group. If you want to read on the Oxford group, it's quite interesting to read how the Oxford group influenced the early AAs and how the big book is actually infiltrated by these very strong concepts. If you want, and there's a reference for you, there's a story called, I'm a little bit like a locomotive. Are you following me? You good? You good? Everybody's good? Ooh. There's a story on page 292 in the 3rd edition and 263 in the 4th edition, 292 in my edition and 263 in your edition. And it's called "He Sold Himself Short." That's the story. He sold himself short, and they have you have the 6 original steps of the Oxford group, if you're interested and if you want to look it up. The first step was complete deflation, which is our first, 2nd, and 3rd, and 11th step. Then our first step, sorry, and then comes 2nd, dependence and guidance upon a higher power. 2nd step, that's 2, 3, and 11. Then the moral inventory is 4 and 10. Then 5, restitution is 6, 7, 8, 9. And continue to work with other alcoholics is step 12. You can see how genius Bill was to open it up and to divide it and to make it broader for us so we could more easily get into those one step after the other, how we could lead from, for example, when it says here, moral inventory, that's cool, confession, restitution. Restitution is actually 6, 7, 8, 9 in one, and how from 6 and 7 first we see our character defects, our where we were wrong, then we ask God to remove them, then we make a list. You know, have you ever made a list? I love making lists. Lists are great, because when you have a list, you want to work with the list. So you before you even need to make amends, if you make a list, you have a list of amends to make, and then you will want to make the amends because you have the list. It's very tricky, but it's really smart because you want to just get it, scratch it over, you know. And so, so this is for those who are interested. Let me get back. Yeah.
You said 163 was that page, and then would it be online?
263. 263.
But what about the online version?
I don't know. So the story is he sold himself short. It's not so hard to find. He sold himself short. It's in the edition. Okay, so let's continue. Then we have more about alcoholism. So why more about alcoholism? Of course, if you find out you have cancer, you're gonna go to the internet and go to the doctor and read all you need to find out about your disease. And if you're gonna want to win against alcoholism, you're gonna have to find out what is alcoholism. This is why I have a whole chapter that explains to you what is actually alcoholism. And what it says in this chapter, there are a couple of things that I want to point out in this chapter. In this chapter, there's a gem, another gem. It's on page 35. My sponsor used to tell me, Julia, the reason why people slip is on page 35, last paragraph, middle of the last paragraph of the big book. Why do people slip? And so I went on to page 35 and looked it up, and it says it's about Jim. And Jim is trying to get sober, and we told him that we knew about alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled, and he began to work as a salesman for the business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. And she said, this is why people slip. When people fail to enlarge their spiritual life, then they slip. But what does it mean for an alcoholic to fail to enlarge their spiritual life? As we see, it's not going to church to enlarge my spiritual life. This doesn't work. What works for us alcoholics is talking to other alcoholics. So, because it says when all else fails, we need to talk to another alcoholic. And this is how Bill W., by the way, stayed sober 8 months before he found Dr. Bob, is in trying to talk to other alcoholics. He was not successful. And he, after 3 months of this, trying to find other alcoholics, he talked to Joyce, it's not working, I'm still alone. And she says, you're sober. And this is all that matters. It's not about you, it's about me staying sober. And where was it? So I like this Jim story because I wanna explain to you the Jim story. So Jim is a salesman, an employee in a business he once owned. So imagine being newly sober. You had a car business that you owned. You lost it to alcoholism, and now you work for the asshole you sold it to. Imagine where he is. And he's new. He's not like he doesn't have the tools that we have yet. It's like, but he says very bravely, he said, oh, it's okay. It says here, to his consternation, he found himself drunk half a dozen times, blah, blah, blah. And it says here, yet he got drunk again on page 36. We asked him to tell us how it happened. Here it is. I came to work on Tuesday morning. I remember I felt irritated that I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned. So, you know, for us, irritated sounds small, but you know that for an alcoholic, to feel irritated can be huge in a nanosecond. It can turn into an explosion of resentment and hate. So, I felt irritated. I had a few words with the boss. He's very, very diplomatic and telling us, but nothing serious. Yeah, right, I really believe you. Then I decided to drive into the country and see one of my prospects for a car. On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they had a bar. I had no intention of drinking, I just thought I would get a sandwich. I was under the notion that I might find a customer for a car in this place, which was familiar, for I had been going in for years. I had eaten there many times during the months I was sober. I sat down at a table, ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk, still no thought of drinking. I ordered another sandwich and decided to have another glass of milk. And then in italics means that it's important. Suddenly, attack of alcoholism, suddenly. But you know what? It's not really an attack, but remember, because there was the boss and the resentment and the business, so it's a difficult, tricky situation. And there again, we are with our program. It's going to be a program that has depth and weight, because we have to be watchful. wishful, so much for this, especially the newcomer. So he said, so suddenly the thought crossed my mind that if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in my milk, it wouldn't hurt me in a full stomach. It's about the insanity of drinking. But it's not really about the insanity of drinking, it's about having no spiritual tools. And the spiritual tools is call your sponsor. Or call, you know, when we say call 3 men if you're a man, 3 women if you're a woman every day, is to practice for these moments. So you start to practice, because alcoholism is a disease of isolation. And it takes away friends, it takes away communication, it takes away your voice. So when we tell the newcomer, call 3 people every day, it's to practice. That's why my sponsor said, she said to me, I'm not going to be there all the time. So you need to practice calling people so you can do it when this situation happens, when things are on fire. And I ordered a whiskey and I put it into my milk. I vaguely sensed that he was not being any too smart, but I felt very sure that I was taking the whiskey on a full stomach. The experiment went so well that I ordered another whiskey and poured it into more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried another. So the alcoholic insanity returned. So now I want to go back to fail to enlarge my spiritual life. How do I enlarge as an alcoholic my spiritual life? So first of all, calling. So here's you see the tool of the telephone, how really existential that is. And going to meetings, showing up. So I have a daily check of who I am, where I'm at, and of course working the steps. And this is how alcoholics enlarge their spiritual life. It's not a mystery. It's you enlarge your spiritual life the way it's written in this book. You don't have to reinvent it. You don't have to do something new. You have to work the steps. You have to reach out for help. You have to help another alcoholic. You have to be constantly on alert. Which is nice, because that makes us really nice human beings, actually. But that's just a side benefit. You become a nice person thanks to this program. But we just want to live. We just don't want to die. But as a side benefit, if you keep on your toes, and it's not that you're a doormat. And it's not that you're no good. It's not that you're stupid. It's just that we have a spiritual practice, and read about spiritual practice and maintenance of spiritual condition. And all the religion and all the spiritual practices, all the self-help, go to your esoteric library and read what people are doing, what really advanced people are doing for practicing spirituality. You'll find it's exactly what you've been doing in AA, with other words. So this is why we love to read all these books, because we say, oh, this is inspiration, because it always, sometimes different wordings reach different hearts. So that's why it says, you're encouraged to go read. So this is, where in More About Alcoholism says on page 39 that the actual and potential alcoholic with hardly an exception will be absolutely unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge, in italics. So it's not that I know about alcoholism, just not enough. And it says that we are without defense against the first drink. That is on, where is it, guys? We're without defense against the first drink for the real alcoholic. I don't like it. Huh? 41. Yeah, there it is. Where is it? Read it to me. I made no fight whatsoever against the first grade. There it is. Yeah, thank you. And the chapter ends, and this is where it's important. The chapter ends once more. Last paragraph. The alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink, except in a few rare cases. Neither she nor any human being can provide such a defense. His defense or her defense must come from a higher power. So there's no choice. You have to find a higher power or you die. And then the next chapter is we agnostics. And it says we're going to talk about God because we need to talk about God. So we need to know what God we mean. And this is why the whole chapter is about God. So you start to, so you know what we are, and it talks about God. And it's, are you guys tired? You need a break?
Well, yeah, we're supposed to break from 10:30 to 11.
Okay, so, sorry guys. So we'll talk about God after this at 11. Is that okay, 11 o'clock?
Yeah.
Cool. Have a break. I'm sorry. Thanks for stopping me.
We can talk about God now. That's good.
Let's have a little break.